G'day everyone, welcome to Xrissart. I'm Chrissy. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for joining me for my first live stream. I'm going to fumble up, so you just have to excuse me. What I'd like to do here is tell you about what I'm doing. I'm doing a pastel painting. The art supplies that I'm using here are Pan Pastels, Pastel Pencils, and the surface that I'm using is Pastelmat. So the Pastelmat, and of course there are the Pan Pastels, and this particular fellow is he's part of my Element series. He is the Air Prince of Diamonds. He hasn't got a name yet because I haven't figured it out, but I've already started on his eye or eyes. It helps me figure it all out, and well, it helps me with the flow of the painting. So I'll just keep at it and see how I go, and I'll explain to you bit by bit how I'm going with it. I'll just set all of this up, make sure it's all okay. Okay. Hi Lindy, how you going? Thanks for joining me. Well, what I'm doing now is, you'll have to excuse me, I'm going to stuff things up quite a bit IT challenged at the moment. So, but basically what I'm doing here is, I'm not quite sure how much of this, if you got the start of it or not, but this painting is a part of my Element series. So I'm up to the Jack of Diamonds, and the diamonds, well, it's what I'm doing is pretty much like a deck of cards. So I've completed my King and Queen and Jack of Hearts, and I'm up to the diamonds now. So this particular fellow, he's how can I describe it? Well, he's the Jack of Diamonds. So what I've been doing here, what I've got here are pastels, and that's what the painting will be. It'll be made of Pan Pastels. I've got Pastel Pencils, and I've got some soft pastels which I'm going to use along the way. So and I've just been doing his eyes because it helps me with the flow of the painting. So I'll just keep at it and see how I go. My main gripe with pastel pencils is the sharpening. I always have problems with the sharpening, so I use things like a blade and sometimes a sharpener, and which now I need to do. So feel free if you've got any questions or anything like that. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them. Yeah. So yeah, this paper's a pad of from a pad of 12, and this particular pad is the greens. There's a whole heap of greens. There's light green, there's a blue, and because I've got a bit of a fetish for papers, so at the moment I'm into Pastelmat, but I've used so many papers. Yeah. What I'm doing now is just getting my reference. Okay. Oh, have to excuse me, I need to wear my glasses as well. So here what I've done, I've actually done quite a bit here, and it's with the eyes. I've used, where am I? Quite a few. Quite a few pencils here, so there's just a mixture here. So what I'm trying to do here is pay careful attention to his eyes, and there's a lot of detail in the reference photo. And if you notice that the whites of the eye is not white, almost the only parts of the white that I'll do is the like where the iris is or where the pupil is. Oh, thanks. Lindy says she's listening and working on her artwork, which is fantastic. But yeah, no, look, this is really good. You'll have to tell me if the sound is okay. I'm not quite sure how I'm coming across, so it's. Oh, I've got to record as well. Okay, so here I'm doing the nose, and my reference is telling me one thing and my brain is telling me another. So what I've actually got to do is listen to what my or not listen, sorry, look at what my reference is saying. Oh, thanks. Yeah, okay, great. Sound good. And Lindy, what are you working on at the moment? Okay, so here with the nose, and I've got to stop saying I should have like a money jar for every time I say It'll help me pay for some of my art supplies, I reckon. For the amount of times I say it anyway. Here we go again. So I'm a bit all over the place on this bit. And this is just an underpainting, just trying to work out where these colours are going to be, because then on top what I will do is I'll be working with Pan Pastels and putting more on. And this paper, it just takes so much detail. Sorry, not detail, I mean takes so many layers. I'm just amazed with what it can do. But with the initial layers here, I'm actually quite gentle and applying very light pressure. Oh, Lindy's working on a blue heron, pan pastel background, pastel pencils and coloured pencils for the heron. Very good. Oh wow, Pan Pastels. How are they with backgrounds? Awesome. You can get so much done in so little time with that, couldn't you? And what, oh sorry Lindy, and what pastel pencils are you using, or what do you like to use? Oh, and I'm using Glassine Paper, which helps me, which prevents the oil from my hands from the paper, or if I've worked on anything, it doesn't smudge. So, yeah. And what I've got beside me as well, I've got a bit of paper where I test all my colours, make sure I'm getting the right shade right. See, and with the skin tones, it's never just one colour. It's a whole heap. There's browns, there's blues, there's purples, there's all sorts. You know, I've got all my greys and my blacks here, and my charcoals and blues. Yeah, Lindy says that mostly Carbothellos in pastel pencils and Derwents. Yes, I've got the Carbothellos as well. I've got a variety here too. I've got the Contis, I've got Faber-Castell, and what else have I got? And I've got, I don't know if you've heard of this one. It's the Brunswick. The Brunswick, I believe, also make coloured pencils as well. They I actually don't mind the Brunswick. They're quite. Where are you again? Here we go. Quite soft, and they have a very good selection of colours. So, yeah. Just looking at my reference photo, making sure I'm just in my face. I'm just picking out all the darker bits and the lighter bits. So I'm going to be jumping around for a while until I get it right. Might leave that one for the Pan Pastel. I know what that is. And I've got a kneadable eraser should I make mistakes, which is almost all the time. Okay, no, I don't like how that looks at the moment. I'm not going to touch that. I'll have a go at his lips now. I could spend a whole afternoon or hours just on doing lips. I don't know how else to put it. You think... Lindy says she has a couple of I have a couple of Brunswick pencils, but not the pastel ones. Yeah, you should give these a go. And considering Caran-d'Ache pastel pencils, they would. I was considering getting the Caran-d'Ache pastel pencils too. Oh, so expensive though, aren't they? And okay, favourite pencils, Caran-d'Ache, yes. Supracolor watercolour pencils. Oh, you're not okay. I've got these Supracolor watercolor pencils. Nice pencils. You haven't considered using them wet? But yeah, they're nice pencils too. So I'm just going ahead and just outlining the lip and trying to figure out where the dark bit in the lip is. And with the male lips, I always have to be careful not to make them look like female lips. It would be very easy to do. So, but it just so happens that this particular fellow, he does have chunky lips, so I've got to be careful to make them look manly at the same time. So, okay, so just making a few lines, and what I'm doing here is getting the direction of how the lip is going to go, like all the crevices that lips have. And okay, so sort of like that. It's too light. And this particular colour that I'm using here, now the good thing about, Faber-Castell are a very quality pencil this is a Pip Pastel. The only thing that and it's got a 3-star rating, which is telling me that it's really good light fast rating. The only thing is, which is a shame, it doesn't sort of say the colour of the pencil. I mean, it's got the number, and that's okay. That's the only thing I could fault with this, you can imagine. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm mostly making his lips dark, because what I'm going to go ahead and do is then start adding highlighted bits and then just going over until such time I'm happy with his lips. And of course, Carbothello's here in my little pile as well. Looks like I'll need to get another one of these. What I'm also doing is blending as well. And I'll go over that, and this is the lightest pressure, the absolute lightest pressure that I'm applying here. Oh, where's that jar? I should be putting all of that money in the jar with all my ums that I say. And again, I'm going on top of that, and I'll probably do that quite a bit until I get that right. It's a very slow process, I know, but the longer I take my time with it, the better result I'll get. So, and I'm an impatient person by nature, so I've developed an incredible amount of patience in my latter years. So and again, just very, very carefully. And again, using Faber-Castell, this is a 132. And this is see, now this looks like a charcoal, a dark charcoal, or no, medium charcoal. pencil, and it's 175. And for those who are interested, star rating 3, which is excellent quality. Just getting the edges of the mouth here, which might have to bring that down to a point, I think. I'm not liking the way that that looks. So again, my eraser, Kneadable eraser, and very gently and carefully picking it up gently. Okay. Still not there. Oh, and Lindy, where are you from? Whereabouts in Australia? Okay. And here just slowly the mouth is starting to take shape. Oh, serious? Is it cold up there? Cold up there in Brizzy? So here outlining the mouth. And now more pink. This is another Faber-Castell 131. As you can see, I use the blade to sharpen sometimes, and sometimes a sharpener. I mean, I've also got this sharpener, which is a really good one. It's terrific on the pencils too, but sometimes it's the pastel pencils are too soft for that, so I opt for the blade or the and I use that one. They're cheap as chips, but the blade is made in Germany, fantastic quality, and I just get a whole heap of these, and I just probably use one for every project by the time I'm finished with it. But at $2 or $3, I mean, I think it's worth it sharper the pencil, the better. Lindy says it's cool but not cold. I actually love the cold. Where are you? I'm in Newcastle, so further south from you, that's for sure. Also, I'm always jealous of people that live in Queensland, because, you know, the weather's so much better than anywhere else. So the lips are starting to take shape, and I'm just careful to where I'm blending with the pencil as well. His mouth looks a bit pouty at the moment, but I'll fix that as I go. It's all a bit dark there. In fact, it's just dark here. Chittaway Point on Central Coast. Wow. Oh, then you know about Newcastle then. Okay, so I'm still working the lips, and as you can see, it's taking some time. And I need to sharpen again. Okay. I need something a little bit more here. I'll try to refrain from putting my last highlight on the lip. Always in a hurry. Might have to do that. Oh. This might help me to get the lips right by doing what I have to do around them. Might just see if I can blend this out a little bit. And what I'm using is some soft tools. This is from Pan Pastels. Just wanted to get the harsh lines out there for a moment. And with Pan Pastels and the soft tools, what I do is I wash mine after my projects, and I've got a little container here with ones which I've washed. So, I mean, most of the time I probably won't be able to use it, but sometimes I will. But yeah, there you go. It's called recycling. Sort of goes. Just going to get some lines in there, just so I can see. I'm just going in the direction of the creases in the mouth. And what I will do is I will leave that at some point and then carry on with the rest of the face, and come back to his mouth again. Because I find that once I start using or putting all the colour in his face, I can then gauge my values and tones. Okay. What a fabulous invention Pan Pastels are. That was just going through my mind, you know, with all their tools and, you know, these tools and okay. So what I'll do here is now get into doing his nose area. And shaping that out. And again, using so many colours, not just the one colour. And adjusting and readjusting and These are also Holbein pastels. They're a bit on the hard side, but I might just block in what am I doing? And just using the edges. And again, very light pressure at the moment until I can figure out all the colours and where they're going. It's a bit too bright, that one. Is that the same? That's the same. Maybe it's the wrong shade. And these are Art Spectrums soft pastels, Aussie pastels. I've got to get rid of this bit, it's annoying me at the moment. This Kneadable eraser has been around for quite a while, and what a terrific tool this is. Okay. At the moment, just trying to resist blending at the moment. What I'm doing here is just applying the pastel. Just very gently at the time, just very gently applying the colour. And that's a little dark bit in there, sort of. And it's more on the yellow side for him there. trying to... And I'm always looking at my reference photo. In fact, I'm looking at my reference photo more than I'm looking at my painting at the moment. And I'll probably do that for a while until I get his face right. This is my ugly stage, if that's what I could call it. He doesn't look like much there, does he, at the moment? Yeah. And I will go darker. But not just yet. Okay, so to me his face looks like it's starting to take shape, and I'm feeling good about how it's coming along. But he has got a pouty mouth, but that's what my reference has. I might just leave his pouty mouth. Actually, I actually quite like it like that. It's a bit of shadow there underneath his nostril, which I will pronounce even later on. There's a bit of yellow in there as well, I can see. Okay, might blend that out now, and I'll start off with the lighter bits. And that way I'll know how to come in and readjust, and that's all I'll be doing, is adjusting and readjusting all the time, and making sure I take my time with it. Try not to rush. So again, using a soft tool and just blending my skin tones. And what I've also got next to me is a paper towel, and I use that paper towel to wipe my soft tool. That way I won't contaminate when I'm using my pastels or contaminate any area around. I was thinking about, see, that is the smallest Pan Pastels. That's the most finest little tools for detail, and I know that you could use these for pointy areas and details. But wouldn't it be nice if Pan Pastels, like the company, wouldn't it be good if they made a tool which was even smaller than these? That would be good, wouldn't it? I was actually thinking I should actually write to them and see if they could think about inventing that. Or maybe I could make my own. Yeah. Because it looks like, you know, Pan Pastels are here to stay. They're a fantastic medium. Yeah. So, yeah, the nose is going to take some work, but that's okay. It's all coming together. And I just wanted to talk about the paper again. I'm always talking about the paper, but the good thing with Pastelmat is that even like when you're using soft pastels, and I've done this on another project where I've actually applied, where I've just mainly used pastels, soft pastels, and I've used water to blend. Well, of course, it doesn't dry shiny, it does dry dull, but it helps with layering and things like that, and you don't have to, and it doesn't affect the tooth, which I think is terrific. I'm not quite sure what other paper you can do that with. There must be something up. There must be some other ones, I'm sure. Oh, shouldn't have done that. See, that's what happens. I should have wiped. That's all right. I've got my Kneadable eraser, and off she comes. But that's okay. I could go over it as well. So, blending. And now applying some dark areas here. And there's dark bits here. In fact, that's probably a little bit more darker there. Won't just do that. I'll use pencil here. That's the beauty with pastels. Soft pastels, pastel pencils, pan pastels, they all can be used on top of each other. Mind you, when I started art, I started with oils, and I still paint with oils. But when I discovered pastels, I thought, oh, how good is this? But I love oils too, so when I finish all of this project that I'm doing, I'm actually going to do a whole heap of oil paintings as well, or I might just do a few just to somehow break the monotony, or of just doing pastels. And I've been wanting to do coloured pencil projects as well. I've got so many projects that I'd like to do, but no time. So now I'm working on his chin. Lindy says, have you tried cotton buds? Would love a smaller tool too. Yes, I have tried the cotton buds, but it doesn't pick up the pastel like these tools do. What I'm tempted to do is just like buy those makeup sponges and get toothpicks and make a whole heap. I thought of that. That might be a good idea, actually. Okay. Yeah, he's starting to look like I want him to look, but I've got a long, long way to go. I've got to make sure that I get my darks dark enough and my lights light enough. That's what I've got to always remember. Got a lot to learn, I have, but you won't learn until you practice, I think, and I mean, we all make mistakes, and it's only from my mistakes that I will learn how to get good at this, but I'm not afraid to make the mistakes so long as I learn from them. Yep. So This bit here is a bit light here, and just a bit light there. And more on the warm browny side. No, not quite that colour. That's not right. So as you can see, I'm using many different kinds of colours, not necessarily one colour. This one reminds me more of a sepia. I've got that in the Derwent as well. Oh, can't find you. Oh yeah, here we go. As you can see, a well-loved pencil, but sepia, that colour is more of a, and I think, I'm not quite sure whether that's sepia or not. Like a, this was like a cold brown. This is for the Faber-Castell, and the sepia for Derwent is more on the warm side. That might be too bright there, just toning it down a little bit. Okay, what have we got here? It's building up his chin. And I'll be using Pan Pastels soon. And I'll be blending a little bit. Yeah. Okay. And this bit here is light. Just that bit. There we go. And I'll just blend this out a little bit with my soft tool. And I have to use a paper towel to, so I don't contaminate it again and mix the wrong colour. Although with pastels it doesn't matter, you just can go over it, that's okay. Again. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be using some Pan Pastels, and I'm going to go in this area and darken this up quite a bit. But I won't use that one. I'll use a second hand but clean one. yeah, so sorry if I'm a bit quiet. And now I am going with Pan Pastels on top of the areas where I had put pastel pencils. Pretty much my underpainting is what I'm trying to get at, and I'm using this one here, which is red iron oxide tint. Yeah, and with Pan Pastels, it reminds me of painting, but then painting, because when you can blend paints or mix paints and you make a colour. Well, you can do that with Pan Pastels too. You can blend a few colours to make a colour if you don't have one, but you can't do that with pastels. Yeah, so this is the difference between the Pan Pastels and the soft pastels. It acts like a paint, but once it's applied, it feels like pastel. Strange. Interesting, but good. Yeah. So again here, I'm using Raw Umber Extra Dark. As you can see, a much loved Pan Pastel. I use that a lot with my darks and in my skin tones. So I will continue to work around this guy's face. I'm a bit scattered on his face, but okay, back to now applying red iron oxide tint around his mouth area. I have to be very careful and I'm just looking at my reference photo, making sure that I'm getting certain bits in his face right, or certain values in his face right, I beg your pardon, that's a better word. Okay. Well, he's starting to come together actually, which is pretty cool. What I'd like to be doing is maybe doing some live streams about once a week if I can do it. And the reason why I wanted to live stream is wanted to engage and talk about art, and people that want to talk about art as well. I'd like to hear what they're up to and what they're doing. So what a nice pastime. Okay, I'll just leave that for the moment, and I'll start now on this fellow's forehead. Hopefully that won't be such a hard thing, and I'm going to be using Pan Pastels for this, mainly for the coverage, and I don't have to be as detailed at the moment. Like, there's no, well, this guy's a young fellow, he doesn't have any wrinkles, so and again, I'll just lightly apply where all the lights are and where all the darks are going to be. And I'll use my second hand tool again. Well, you know, my reused tool, that's probably a better term. So I'm going to use a burnt sienna shade for sort of my mid-tone, which is around here. And I'm going on top of what I've already put with my soft pastel. And sort of about there as well. Yeah. I'm trying to pay attention to where the light is hitting. You can't really tell with his face at the moment because I haven't applied the absolute highlights, but the light is hitting this area here, and there's quite a bit of light hitting underneath his eye, his nose area. There'll be a line just there, and just around his nostril here, and certain bits here. So I'm trying to not think about that just yet, but just try to put like an under painting or under layer, and then blend it through too, which is that's not as light there, and that bit there is the lightest, just above that area there. But I'll continue to do this and lay down colour as quickly as I possibly can, and then start to adjust my tones. That might be a bit too dark, I think. Here we go. Yeah, see, that's the beauty of Pan Pastels. You can blend with them or make new colours. And it's just slightly a bit dark up here above his eyebrow, but not much. And oh, no, not that one. This one. So And the good thing with this paper, this tone paper, it helps you with the values as far as like the skin. I always go for the darker colours, the darker shades, you know, or this kind of shade when it comes to the skin coloured, or like the skin coloured type paintings, or the portrait paintings, I beg your pardon, that's what I wanted to say. So, yeah, and that sort of comes up here, and that comes here. Okay, something a little bit lighter here now. Okay, and just around his forehead here, bit of highlight there. So he's got all sorts of colours going on in his face there at the moment. Quite a few. It's looking blotchy, yes, but there will be quite a few layers that will go onto that. Okay, what am I doing now? I'll start now by putting, so that's pretty much my underpainting. So what I'll start to do now is I'll start to adjust my values, my highlights, my midtones. So what I might do is now go darker where the darkest areas are, and then I'll go see how that looks, and then I'll start to rearrange, or sorry, not rearrange, but work out where my midtones are going to be and where my highlights are going to be. So, and I'll just keep on adjusting, and I'll just keep at it until I am really happy with it. So I'll just keep on going with that. So my darks. So what I'm using here is burnt sienna tint shade. Burnt sienna shade. And just adjusting my midtones. Just having a look at my reference. Quite a bit here. Just applying light pressure. Nothing. Looking like he's got a bit of a black eye there. Okay. Using soft pastels. Again around his mouth area, where I think he needs a bit more highlight. Around his eye again. Around the inside of his eye. His nose area. And around here. Oh, he looks scary. Okay. Make sure I've got the right one. Sort of should be a bit lighter up this way. Okay. I might use that one. There's another one. always readjusting. Okay. Just blending all of this out. See how I go. Oh, g'day Steve, how you going? Thanks for joining. I was hoping you'd pop by actually. Is it early in the morning over where you are? Okay. Well, what I've been doing is just this portrait, and just I have been working on it and just working it until I've been trying to get my values correct from my reference. And I'll just keep on going with it until I get it right. I'm not quite sure if you can see the actual colour. I'm trying to adjust the colour if I can, but the tones here are much more warmer than they are, I believe, than what you're seeing. I don't think the camera is doing these colours justice, to be honest. So I just here on the forehead, I can still see I've got quite a bit of work to do here. Making his face look like it's 3D. and making sure that I'm getting my highlights right. So, but this is not the lightest. The lightest that I would use is not a white pan pastel, but what this is, it's a raw umber tint. So to give you an example, this is the lightest, the raw umber tint, and this is the darkest, raw umber extra dark. So you wouldn't believe it. With these, they've added black to make it darker, and of course they've added white to make this one, and there's a couple in between, I think. See, there you go, that's the mid-range raw umber, and there's another one there. I don't have it out, but I was working on the light, medium, dark in that particular shade. So soon I will then start to punch this up with the lightest of lights here on the face. I mean to say, sorry. If I'm not making sense, just ask me. Why are you talking like that? Because I do say goofy things. So, where was I? So again, I'm putting another layer of pan pastel. Again. And I'm going to have to start to making sure that everything now starts to look correct as far as my reference is concerned. And if it doesn't, well, I'll try to make it look like a person. So Steve, have you been painting anything lately? What have you been up to? Okay, so now adjusting a few things. And this is sepia pastel pencil. His eyebrows are going to be light, but what I'm doing is I'm applying the darkest ones which I think would fit right for this fellow, and then I'll go and use a lighter pencil to make it look like, although it'll still look dark, but you'll be able to see that he's got hair. Right now it's actually quite flat. Okay. And here there are shadows underneath his nostrils. I'm going around now and starting to put some detail into his face and taking note of all the shadows that appear. Oh, it's a bit like a mo, but it's not. Actually, I don't like that. Of course, my trusty Kneadable eraser when I'm not happy with something, which works like a dream. Okay. Just that bit around there that let's have a look. And just adjusting here around his, see, because his face is sort of semi-looking at us. And I think I've made him a bit too puffy there, but oh, that's what I was looking for. And again, again, now working on some highlights, but not the absolute lightest at the moment. Working on this again. Okay. All right. Back again. trying to make his cheekbones stick out now a little bit. Now, how many layers have I put on this? I've put heaps of layers. And great for colour pencil too. Because I've done a few colour pencil projects on Pastelmat, and I mean, you change your technique, but brilliant. Okay. Okay, I've taken a soft tool again to blend. And again, just blending out the pastel and trying to make his jaw, make his cheekbones stick out a bit. And the only way I can do that is to make sure that my darks are dark and my lights are light. Now that's a bit too dark, too light there. Is this the one? This is not the one. Just trying to find the right colour. No, this is not the one. Where'd you go? Oh, got it in my hand. So here I'm blending two colours. That was my real dark one, and now I'm using Red Iron Oxide Extra Dark. Well, that's the extra dark one, and this is the Red Iron Oxide tint. So chalk and cheese. Okay, now I'm starting to concentrate again. Making sure that my lights are in the right area and the right value. That's... Oh, hang on a sec. It's not right. Doesn't this one get me out of trouble? And pastels are very forgiving, as are oil paints as well. Oils, very forgiving. Yep, it's coming along. Oh. His jaw looks a bit, sorry, his cheekbone looks a bit too... There we go. All right. What have I got here? And I'm always using my paper towel to wipe my pastel, my soft tool, to make sure it doesn't get contaminated. And I'm just here, now I'm just dabbing that bit there, because just to take the edge off it, and I'll start very shortly in fixing just that bit there. His nose. Okay. And just take the edge off that. And again, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with my pastel pencils, and I'm going to start to put some details into this sky here. And what I need to do is to make sure that my pastel pencils are sharp, and make sure I'm using the correct ones. This is sepia. I'll probably... what else am I looking for? I'm looking for... See, I wish I could tell you what colour this was, but all I can tell you is that it's 169, but it's the right... It's like a dark shade of... like a nice milk chocolate brown. And So I'll start and just making sure that I get the nostrils. Just want to get this bit here, the shadow. There's a shadow right there. And just underneath there, there's a shadow there. Yeah. Okay. I'm just doing his nostril, which is sort of underneath. I'm going to make sure I might have to get a darker pencil actually. There we go. And his nose here needs to be just a little bit dark just here on the end. And I will use Carbothello. This is a Carbothello pastel pencil. You wouldn't believe it, the rating here has got 5 stars. So very light fast. So okay, might need to go even darker, and I'm going to need to sharpen my pencil. Again, this is a 132 Faber-Castell pastel pencil, and just using, there's a bit of a shadow, just what looks like sometimes is like a light coming underneath there for some reason. That's what it looks like. And so it's creating a shadow underneath his eyes and underneath the nose here. My son's in the chat. Hi, Gabe. Lindy asks, Chrissy, do you use fixatives during or after your pastel paintings? The answer is mostly no. Mostly no. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I will not use fixative. I remember it discolours, it changes the colour of your paintings, and for me to use a fixative, I would have to be very desperate to use it. So I think that's a very big no. But people swear by them, you know. But I avoid them at all costs if I can, and that then becomes very difficult for when you want to protect your paintings, because now they're, you know, like there's all this pastel on your surface, and it's actually quite loose. You can't put it. You've got to be careful how you store it. So that's the downside, I think, of pastels, is the storage. Everything else is fantastic, but yeah. Do you use, Lindy, do you use fixative with your paintings? Mind you, I've tried a whole heap of them. I've tried very good quality ones, but the only time I would probably use a fixative if I'm mixing colour pencil with pastels. That would be the only time that I would use fixative, if I was having some difficulty there. That would be the 1 time out of 10. Yeah. Thanks, Gabe. Okay. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is just soften this up a little bit. It's around his nostril. And perhaps lighten this area still a little bit here. Lindy says, I have only done a few pastel paintings so far. I've used fixative with this current one because I'm switching back and forth between Pan Pastels, Pastel Pencils and normal coloured pencils. Yeah, that would be the only time that I would use fixative. Agree. Yeah. That would probably be the only time. But, you know, you might find ways in getting around the discoloration. I suppose once you've applied, and I've done this before, once you've applied all your pastels and on your painting, and you've pretty much worked out where your lights are and your darks are, and you've well, now you want to work on top of that. You could put fixative, but then you would have to then put another layer of pastel on top because it is discoloured underneath. So, yeah. Oh, and Lindy says, I'm not using Pastelmat. I'm saving Pastelmat for when I know what I'm doing. I say go ahead and use Pastelmat. That way you can, you know, practice and you'll know how the paper feels. You won't know until you actually start using it. And if you want, like for example, when you can, like you buy maybe, you can buy a great big sheet and just cut it down to size and maybe just A5 and just practice on there. You know, that's an inexpensive way to do it. But I say go ahead on the Pastelmat. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so his nose is starting to come along. And I might finish up soon. I'll just do a little highlight here on his nose with another Carbothello pastel pencil. Now this is I know that the casing here looks like a yellow or a pale yellow, but it's actually a grey, but it's a very, very, very light grey. And this is where I would probably use to highlight his nose. Hi Kirsty, thanks for joining the live chat, the live stream. Nice to see you here. Lindy, next project, absolutely, go for it. I know, Gabe. It's okay, mate. Okay, so Kirsty, what have you been painting? I saw some of your lovely paintings. My goodness, they're just wonderful. Yeah, that's right. You're a sand groper, aren't you? But that's what they call people from Western Australia, don't they? Yeah, I know who you are, Kirsty. Yep, yep. Kirsty says, no problem, I'm the one from Western Australia who commented on one of your videos asking where you get your supplies from and having a bit of a chat. Yep. I did respond to you. Eckersley's is a place where I get them, and Soft Pastels Australia, and they're here in Newcastle, and that's where I get my Pastelmat from. They've told me, and I think you mentioned it also, that they're going to be bringing some huge pastel papers. Apart from that, you can get them bigger than 50 by 70, so you can imagine what a great project you could do if you had a great big thing going. Yeah. And Kirsty, I haven't heard that before. Yeah. Sandgroper, you mean? Is that what you mean? That you haven't heard that before? If you're from Western Australia? And Kirsty says, yeah, I realise after you asked me what I'm drawing that you knew who I was. Yep. In answer to your question, I'm currently painting a cat in Pan Pastels and Pastel Pencils. Oh, wow. What sort of a cat? Is that like for like a commission, or yeah. Kirsty says, yes, I haven't heard the Western Australian nickname. I also think the extra large sheets go up to 70 by 100 from Soft Pastel. Yep. Yeah, huge. So I'm looking forward to that. I actually pop into that art shop quite a bit in my lunch break, sneak away. I'm very fortunate, but I know that they deliver national and international, and they get quite a few international orders too. I don't think in Australia, I don't know who else in Australia sells Pastelmat. I know Eckersley's don't. In the UK, I know that Jackson's do. And of course, I'm pretty sure in the US they do. It would be Dick Blick and Jerry's. And I have bought quite a few. Gabriel, go to bed. My son's criticising my artwork. Oh, he stopped my train of thought. He did. Yes, with Pastelmat. So, but what I'm saying is, in Australia, I don't know who sells it apart from Soft Pastels Australia. See, I would purchase a lot more from the US, but because there are times when it's much cheaper than it is here in Australia, but the delivery costs are the killer here. So, you know, sometimes it costs more for the delivery than it does for the item, so then you're a bit reluctant to purchase that. It would be only, I would purchase something from overseas only if I couldn't find it here online. And eBay is another good source where I get some art supplies, and I've got some very good deals there as well. Kirsty. Kirsty asks, I have a question. When you use Pan Pastels, do you find it can fill, when you use Pan Pastels, do you find it can fill the tooth of your paper, preventing more layers of pastel pencils if you're not careful? I need to do a light base layers. I've also found no other supplier of Pastelmat in Australia. There's one seller on eBay, yep, and that ships international for a reasonable price, but does not stock all pads. Yeah, yep, yeah, agree with that. Your answer to, oh sorry, the answer to your question about using Pan Pastels. What I do is I go very lightly on my surface. I don't put pressure, and then it allows me to build up my layers. On this guy's face, I used pencils first, I blended it out, and the reason why I used pencils first is because I just wanted to map out and get the painting going. Then I also applied soft pastels on top of that, and I also applied Pan Pastels. And so far I'm still going with it, and I'm not having trouble with the tooth at the moment. I will at some point, I know, so that's why I'm starting to now be careful on how much I put on this fellow's face, and be selective in certain areas. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Kirsty. I do agree with you. You do have to do light layers, but you can build them up slowly. You know, yeah. Kirsty also says that's a good idea to use pastel pencils first to map out the subject. I usually lose my line work by putting Pan Pastel first. Yeah, I did that with my earlier paintings. I ended up putting Pan Pastel first, and I was losing my lines. And then I found that once I started doing the pastel pencil first, and then I gradually built it up, it was much easier. I wasn't losing my map or my lines, so to speak. Yeah. But I had a few cracks at it to make sure that I got that particular way that I was doing it right. Kirsty also says, yeah, very interesting to find out how everyone else does things. You can always learn something from other artists. Absolutely, absolutely. I learn everything from other artists. And what you do is you find out, well, that's how I learnt how to do pastels. I was watching a lot of videos, I watched a lot of artists. All I ever do is look at paintings and of how people do things, and in different mediums, not just pastels, oils and acrylics and all of that. So, but I'm also looking forward to doing some more oil painting. I haven't done some in a very long time, so I'm going to do that. But yeah, the mind boggles how what artists can do and how they do it, and how they apply different mediums to get a different effect. It interests me all the time, and I'm always learning. So yeah, way to go, Lindy. Lindy says that's why I'm here. Kirsty says, I'm still learning every day. I only started using pastels a couple of months ago, so I'm trying to find out how many different techniques, different techniques as possible. Yep, and so many. I was only just talking before that you could also, when you're using soft pastels, once you've applied a whole heap of soft pastels, you can actually use water, and with a water brush, and just paint over your surface. It dries, and then you can apply more pastels on top of that, and it doesn't ruin the tooth of your paper. That's a very good way to do that. And Kirsty also says, I also watch people oil paint on YouTube because a lot of techniques apply to pastels, to pastel as well, which is great. Yes, that's why it was so easy for me to go from oil painting to pastel. I found when I took up doing pastels that it wasn't difficult for me because it works along the same principles. You start off with your darks first and then you work your way up to your lights. Oops, sorry. Whereas colour pencil, it works different. You start off very light, of course, and you build up your colours that way. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I found pastels much easier. I didn't struggle with pastels when because I thought I would, as much as I thought I would. Sorry, yeah. Kirsty says the water is a fantastic idea. I just bought a set of Rembrandt soft pastels, which I believe is water soluble, so I must give that a shot, especially if it doesn't ruin the tooth of the paper. Absolutely. I've got a video where I've done that. His name is, it's called Thunder Stare, and you'll see where I use the water with the soft pastels, that technique. So you should check out how that, and I learned that from someone else, by the way. I didn't come up with that idea, but I saw it with somebody else doing it and I thought, must give that a go. And it was it was another Australian artist, by the way, when I saw that one. Lindy says you can also blend pastels and pastel pencils using a Copic marker blender pen. Great for control and details. Wow, never thought of that. Might give that a go. Are they alcohol based, the Copic markers? They are, aren't they? Yeah. And Kirsty says, I used graphite as a teenager and stopped after high school, then started colour pencil 2 years ago and started pastel this year at 23 years old. I love pastels so much though. I'm glad I found them. Wow, that's great. That is so cool. I'll have to go, Kirsty says I'll have to go find that video of yours and watch how you use the water. Yeah, you'll see. He's a like a warrior, a gladiator type warrior, and it's a red background, and he's got like a suit, some kind of armor, and I use that a lot. So yeah. Well, now this is not light enough for me, so I'm going to use now Pan Pastel to punch up some highlights which are just there. This is again raw umber tint. And as you can see, I've used pencils on top of soft pastels, on top of pan pastels, on top of, and I haven't, it's not giving me any trouble whatsoever, which is really good. But I will stop at some point. Thank you, Kirsty. That's very nice of you to say that. it's a community of artists, and collaboration and learning from each other. And I learn, there's quite a few artists which I learn from as well, and I'm always checking their work out and checking out how they do things. And you know, like if somebody's got, you know, a great way to do something in a better way, or, you know, or in a different way, or I'm always for it. You know, it only makes you into a better artist, doesn't it? And I have to apologise, I get very excited when I start talking about art. It's a bad habit. So now what I'm doing is I'm just punching up some highlights, and I'm not going to blend these at the moment. I'm just going to let it go, look at it, maybe sit on it and look at it tomorrow and find out what I should, tomorrow night, that is, after work when I go home. Kirsty asks, who are your favourite pastel artists to learn from? I'm a fan of Jason Morgan's tutorial. He is fantastic. I've been following him for probably more than a year now, maybe a couple of years. He's traditionally an oil painter, and he's just taken up pastels. He talks about quite a bit how he tried pastels a long time ago, but he didn't try the right paper and stuff like that, or the right equipment, and it turned him off really quick. And so he's taken it up of late, and he's really into it, and oh, he's just magnificent. And he works the same way as he does in oils, so he would have to be one of my favourites, definitely. There's an Australian artist, she featured in Colour, Put Some Colour Into Your Life. That's an Australian YouTube channel. Graham Stevenson is the guy, and he features all different artists from around Australia. He's gone to the US, he's gone to New Zealand, and he's and there's a pastel artist there which he featured, and she also does oils as well. I'm going to, after this live stream, I'm actually going to look her up and maybe let you know who it is. You love that show? You mean Colour, Put Some Colour in Your Life? That's the lady, Lindy, yep. Yep, I think, yeah, she's the one. That's her. If you go to her website, oh, she does amazing work. Yep. Yep. Okay, now yeah, she is amazing, Kirsty, yep. So we are talking about the same person, yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to touch his face for the his cheekbones. I'm actually going to go into his lips now, and I'll probably be ending this live stream soon. I said that a little while ago, but I do need to do something with his lips before I go, otherwise it's going to be bothering me for the whole day tomorrow when I'll be thinking of it. So what I might do is just put some little highlights. And I might just make his lips a little bit more rosy. As I said before, I've got to make sure that they look like manly lips, you know. Kirsty asks, what do you use the gum eraser for? You were reading it in my supply list. Okay, I'll give you an idea. Where is it? Where did it go? Oh. I mean, that's just another eraser. And it's soft and it won't hurt the tooth of the paper. So sometimes, because these are the two that I use, the Kneadable eraser and the gum eraser. So say for example I can still use that. And it erases that as well. If I want it to be a little bit more like here, I've gone. The only thing is that it's big and chunky, or you can erase certain bits. So that's what I use that for. Just another eraser, really, but a good one, and it doesn't hurt. Even like for any kind of artwork, whether it be sketching, you know, on watercolour paper or on drawing paper, it's quite good too. We're starting to pout again. Come on. Okay. Well, I think I might call it a day or a night. Just wanted to say thank you for joining me for my first live stream. God willing, I hope I'll do quite a few more. Anyway, thanks for watching, and bye for now.